Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. Today is Tuesday, October 1st. And, oh my gosh, postseason baseball is on right now.
Mm-hmm. It's a great time of year. The air gets a little bit more crisp. It's awesome. It gets colder. You can start breaking out the hoodies and the jackets again. It's a great time of year.
It's fall now. No more summer anymore. Those vibes are over. So, a lot to talk about. Postseason baseball, huge weekend in sports. Georgia, Bama this past weekend, NFL Sunday, a blockbuster NBA trade, and then, postseason baseball coming up for the rest of this month. So, a lot of stuff to get excited for. Let's talk about it.
Yep.
We gonna make it, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. It is finally time for postseason baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Finally time for fall. Speaking of fall, Slove, they have some great stuff out right now.
There we go.
Go check them out. Slove is not just Colorado's next and up-and-coming clothing brand. It is a clothing brand who aims to bring a movement globally. When you wear a Slove piece, you're not just wearing a piece of clothing. You are elevating your style and representing what love looks like. Perfect time for fall. Hoodies, sweatsuits, beanies, hats, all the good stuff heading into fall. Go check them out. If you're going to go check them out on Instagram, it is at sluv.co. That is sluv.co. Or if you're going to go check them out on their website, it is sluv.us. That is sluv.us. Go check them out. All right. Well, I think the first thing we should talk about, we should flash back all the way to Saturday night. Big game. Yeah. Maybe one of the biggest games of the college football season so far. Probably the biggest, I'd say, especially SEC matchup, 2 and 4 seed, going head-to-head in Tuscaloosa. Your Georgia Bulldogs went in there. Rough first half. Looked very piss poor, to say the least. Carson Beck especially. But then had a great second half comeback. Almost won the game, only to be beat by a 17-year-old.
Yeah, no. If I've been saying this for days since that game. If we would have played the second half, or if we played the first half like we played the second half, we win that game. But I think honestly, we pull a lot of momentum. We may win that game by a touchdown or two, in my personal opinion. It's Ryan Williams. Yeah, no, kid's a dog. I mean, there's just not much. Even Kirby was like, we already understand we're going to give up that pass to him like late in the game. He was like, we know we're giving that up to him, but we got to get him on the ground. That was his biggest statement there. But, yeah, Carson Beck just started off so slow. I mean, we started off kind of really bad in that first quarter. They scored a lot, but then you also got to realize Carson Beck gave him the ball on our side of the 50 twice with an interception that were ugly interceptions. That if you go back and look at, like, the screen pass one, if everyone knows their assignments and the guys there and the blocking's right, that's a touchdown because there was nobody else behind him. So I understand the play call and what we were doing. We just couldn't figure it out. But we've been doing this kind of all year leading up to this, which is what I was a little bit scared about going into the game. Whether it was even like Clemson and Kentucky, both of those games we started out extremely slow in the first. Like with Clemson, we started off very, very slow, and then in the second we ended up beating them 34-3. So it was kind of what I expected, but then it was a great comeback, which is I can take some solidarity in after that game. I think at the end of the day, Georgia just ran out of time. They didn't have the time to get it done. Carson Beck, he's got to get it together earlier. This whole team does, because we see in the second half who this team can be and what they can accomplish. Like, I think Carson Beck threw 2 interceptions in the first half and threw for like 110 yards, and then proceeded to go in the second half and throw it for almost 400 and, a couple touchdowns. So we see what the team can do. I think Bama is a beatable team if you can keep Jalen Milroe in the pocket, because he's one of the most dangerous runners in all of college football. So if you can keep him in the pocket, force him to throw, keep the stuff in front of you, get a few stops every now and then, you can beat this team. I think I would love to have another shot at Alabama. Might have it SEC championship depending on what Texas does. But I would love to see another rematch between us and them, because I think in the second half, Georgia started to figure something out about them. And that's why they roared back and made that comeback. So, I don't know. it sucks, but it's also kind of like real back down to earth. Like we've been getting a little bit of like reality checks throughout the season. This is the first one where I'm like, this is probably actually going to make a change in the team to where we have to just start fast. Dan Jackson said he's a defensive player for Georgia. He said that's the slowest start he's ever seen playing football. And if we don't have that slow start, I think we win this game pretty well. Like I think it's no contest. But you know, game's over now, and all we can do is learn, move on. And I think Kirby is the perfect guy to take something like this and turn it into, you know, progression.
I think I saw a stat over the weekend. Kirby Smart, I think it's like 39-3 or something in the last 3 regular seasons. All 3 losses being against Alabama.
Yeah,
I was going to say Nick Saban, but it was the ghost of Nick Saban, literally on the sideline and in the press box during the game. But yes, Alabama improves to the number 1 seed in the country now, passing Texas after that big win against Georgia. Agreed, it was a rough game in terms of, I think, for both teams. I mean, you look at it for Bama. I mean, they're up huge. 33 to something in the first half.
At their peak, it was 30-7.
Yeah, 30-7, or either early in the second half or in the first half.
I think it was 30 to like almost. I think it was like almost like 28-0. Like they had a huge lead.
It was 28-0 at some point, I believe.
And then they proceeded to score 11 points in the second half.
Yeah, and so I mean, Alabama, you look at that and they're like, oh, well, we had a great first half of the game, and then Georgia obviously on the other end of that. And then the second half of the game, Georgia looked great, and Alabama didn't look so hot. So, I mean, for both sides, I feel like they might have some concerns going in, out of that game. But at the end of the day, one team kind of had a moral victory, being Georgia, knowing that they can come back, and the other team had an actual victory, getting the actual win. So
and like somebody asked Kirby, they were like, "You're like 1-6 against Bama," and he was just like, "Yeah, I mean, go around the league, ask other teams what their record is, and see what it is."
Not very good.
Yeah, and also one thing I took from that is like, we're 1-6 against them, but like 2 of them have been in Alabama, 1 of them's been in Georgia, and then the other 3 were either in an SEC championship or a national championship. I don't mind those when we're playing a team like this. If we can play them in those big games, like I like those odds. Yeah. So I mean, if that's how we're going to keep meeting, I'm totally okay with that.
Thoughts for you on this game?
I think I summed it up for me pretty good. I mean, like Jackson said, you hope your team looks like that the entire game, but yeah, I think you nailed it, Joey. Moral victory for one, actual victory for the other.
Yeah.
I think it was such an exciting game too for if you didn't have a horse in this race.
Yeah.
It was just an overall good football game for a random, fan to watch especially on a Saturday night. I mean,
we're watching what could possibly be like a national championship type of game here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we met them again in a very crucial point in the year.
Last 2 things I want to touch on here. I mean, we got to mention it one more time. Ryan Williams might be.
He's insane.
I won't say the best wide receiver in college football, but I don't think it would be terrible to say the most talented wide receiver in college football. Like, I mean, maybe his stats or his, a couple guys have had like good careers in college. They're there for 3 years already. Yeah. This kid just happens to be 17 years old and have talent that is out of this roof. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday about it, and I was like, as much as it hurts, it's just like that move he made at the end of the Georgia game is just generally one of the best moves I've ever seen in a college football game, maybe ever.
It was impressive.
So it's like I was like I can't even be mad because that's insane. Like that's just a raw talent right there. So it's gonna be honestly fun, really watching him kind of grow. I mean, they're gonna have to take advantage of him for while they got him because he's not gonna be there for long if he keeps playing like that. But it's really cool when you see a guy kind of pop out like that. Sucks when it's against your team, but it's also really when it's good football, you really can't be too mad about it. So I'm excited to see him play a little bit more.
As a Alabama hater yourself, how does it feel that this is like the worst we're going to see Ryan Williams be in the next 3 years, possibly the rest of his life?
I don't know. It doesn't affect me that much, I guess. I don't. I think
an Alabama hater.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is how young he is. Obviously, that's what everyone's been freaking out about. That's cool, but is he going to be there for 3 years?
Yeah, right. He has to stay there for 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
Does he?
And it's 3 years to get drafted in the NFL.
Yep.
But does he leave Bama? Probably not.
No, unless they start
a world where that unless Jalen leaves this year, they just pulling a stinker and he wants to get out.
But I don't with Kalen DeBoer how good he's looked. I mean, so far this year. And
I mean, Kalen DeBoer is just generally a winner.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you put him on that good of a team, it's kind of hard to think.
And
that
it's Alabama. They're going to keep him. You know.
Oh yeah.
All right, I do want to talk about Jalen Milroe, but we'll save it for right after this. I want to talk about one more game, college football. We have to keep talking about it. It does suck. Not really. It's good for us because it might help us, get a few views. But there's one team in the Big 12 that somehow might have a path to the college football playoff right now. They live, about 55 miles north of us.
Mm-hmm.
Deion Sanders is their head coach. CU is 4-1 right now. With especially their last, I'd say 2.5 games. They've looked very beatable, but they just keep pulling out these great games.
Yeah.
And then against UCF, I mean, they just smacked them. I mean, 14-point underdogs on the road. They went in there and they killed them. I mean, there was it was defensive domination, offensive domination, coaching, honestly, which is very shocking. Especially at the end of that first half, a lot of, I think, terrible coaching by UCF, but I mean, they just keep doing it. They keep stringing together exciting wins, and not just good wins, exciting wins, which is why college football continues to talk about them.
No, yeah. I mean, what I think is scaring the Big 12 most is that Colorado might have figured it out, and that's what we've been talking about for months, is the fact that they're literally just finding it out and figuring out and molding as a team away from becoming like a serious problem in the Big 12. And now, honestly, looking how well they play together, which was the biggest problem in Nebraska, I feel like, is it felt like everyone was on their own wavelength and nothing was really matching up. They seem to have figured that out, and it showed heavily in the UCF game. Like you said, they whooped them. The Big 12's not looking as dominant as it once did to start the season out. Utah's not looking as unbeatable as they once did. Arizona showed that they can get whooped by a team that can get whooped. So I don't know. I feel like it's
Big 12 football.
Yeah, it's very up in the air, and I don't know. I do see a path for them if they can keep this up, but we'll also have to see how they really play against a good team. I think maybe they caught Nebraska in a rivalry game home at night, really molding against a team that hadn't really molded yet, and that's the reason why they kind of beat them like that. But we're going to have to wait and see how CU does against some of these good Big 12 teams.
A great matchup coming up October 12th. We talked about it October 12th multiple times. They play Kansas State, especially with how Kansas State's been playing. This will be a very interesting game, especially for CU. I believe it's at home, 8:15 p.m., so a night game in Colorado, especially with the weather getting kind of how it's gotten today. You never know how that could change some things. But what have you thought about kind of these last 2 weeks? And, I mean, just an overall statement from Colorado and Travis Hunter himself.
Hey, he did the move himself. He like Stephen A said today, I think he should be leading it. I'm severely surprised 100%. He's not. My biggest thing is like best player in football, right? And it's almost impossible, I feel like, to say he's not, because he's doing it on both sides of the ball, which
he's doing it top five, top five at each position,
and which no one else is doing it on both sides of the ball. But I mean, this week really for Colorado is huge. I think. Yeah. It's a top 25 opponent. If they come out here with a win, people are really going to be talking then.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, just generally looking at it, I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. They got about 2 teams left that are really difficult, I would say, Kansas State and Utah. But Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Kansas, Oklahoma State, a bunch of teams that have sort of kind of faltered to start the year off. And I don't know. I could see them being able to beat all those teams, and if they can sneak even one of these games against Kansas State or Utah, I mean, we could definitely see them crack into the top 15 and be fighting for that spot.
Even if they lose both, I think the Big 12 winner, like realistically looking at like the standings right now, I think the winner could be a 9-3 team.
Yeah,
and then they get an automatic bid to the playoffs. Like all you got to do is pretty much be 9-3. So if they win just one of those games against Utah or Kansas State, which Kansas State being at home, and then they run the tables, maybe losing to Utah, whatever. Yeah, they're probably going to be in the Big 12 championship.
They're both at home.
So is Utah?
Yep.
Oh, geez. If Cam Rising, we don't know what his status is right now.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
The only way games they have now is Arizona, Texas Tech, and Kansas.
And they can go into Lubbock and win. Lawrence might be a little tough.
Yeah.
But Arizona, that also might be a little tough. But
I mean, just looking at this, the only team that is really a powerhouse right now in the Big 12 is BYU, and they don't play them until possibly the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Yep.
BYU has a Jewish quarterback. Ironic.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
From
saw that.
a Catholic school is where he came from, isn't it?
I think
That's
so.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Whatever you got to do to get it done.
Hey, that NIL money. NIL money. It speaks.
Crazy.
Oh, okay. Last thing, I guess, before we move on from college football, like you kind of just mentioned, and you as well. I think there's a consensus top 4 right now for Heisman, no matter what order you put it in. I think it's Travis Hunter, Jalen Milroe, Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise, and Cam Ward. I think those are the only 4 that, as of right now, which is they're week 5 of college football. I think those are the only. If those aren't the consensus top 4 out of, there's nothing to really argue about right now.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe's looked great, especially last week. Huge win against Georgia. Travis Hunter's doing it on both sides of the ball. I don't know if Ashton Genty. I'm gonna say that wrong every time. I don't know if anybody's looked at his stats. They're insane, and it's only through 4 games, I think, for
And
them.
he got pulled at halftime
Yeah.
in one of them.
Yeah, and his stats are insane. But as a running back, can he keep that up throughout the whole year? We'll find out. And then Cam Ward, he hasn't really proved much to us, but we all know he's talented.
Yeah.
And Miami having the crazy game they did last Friday, kind of putting their name in the spotlight, helped his case as well. So I just wanted to mention that. I mean, obviously, I think all of our personal choice right now would be Travis Hunter, just because Homer and how exciting it is to watch on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Caden touched on it too, and this is the way I look at it: is the Heisman should go to the best player in football, and right now on both sides of the ball, the best player in football is Travis Hunter. He's the most exciting. He's the most he puts up great stats. He's almost always open. You catch anything, cover anybody. He can do generally whatever he wants, and the fact that he's playing an entire game not getting tired is unbelievable. Like, he's doing the best on each side of the ball, which I think has to say something. And I think a lot of people are getting tired of this kind of being the quarterback award. Like, I think in the NFL, people are kind of like understanding the MVP is going to go to the quarterback because in the NFL, 90% of the time, the best stats are coming from quarterbacks, and they're the best players. But in college, that's just not the case. And honestly, in my opinion, it never has been. That's why I hate when, the Heisman ceremony comes around and it's just 4 quarterbacks, just sitting there waiting to hear the name called. I think it should be an award that goes to just the best player, whether that's a defensive player or a kick return specialist or something like that, whoever it may be. I think you got to look at it from that angle and know that Travis Hunter is the best player in the nation. And if he continues to do what he's doing, CU keeps winning pretty decently, I don't see a universe where he doesn't win it unless Genty – I think Genty's the only person who could snag it from him.
And that's if Boise State goes probably undefeated, which is possible for them.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But, so that's my opinion on it. And I think Cam Ward's good, but I don't think he's – when I look at him, I don't think like Heisman.
He has another 2 years, right? Too?
Yeah, he'll be in that running for a while, and he'll probably be in New York when they're talking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And probably all 4 of the guys we just said will be there.
If everything stands as right now,
I think
all 4 should be there.
The only thing that Travis Hunter has to beat is that kind of, I mean, you can say it's not there if you want, but the Bama bias of like, this guy's a Bama quarterback, and that's going to elevate his status in a lot of the voters' eyes when it comes around to it.
I wouldn't even say Bama quarterback. It's the Heisman Trophy has kind of been leaning towards the best SEC quarterback.
Yeah.
And as of right now, that's Jalen Milroe. But at the beginning of the year, you could have said it's Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. All 3 of those guys, if they've had the same year as Jalen Milroe has so far. I mean, staying healthy, Quinn Ewers hasn't. Beating Georgia or beating Alabama, Carson Beck didn't do that. So I think it can go either way. But I do agree with you that bias is more of like an SEC quarterback thing.
Yeah, and also, if you asked any Georgia fan if they thought that Carson Beck was going to win it going into it, the answer was no. He's a good quarterback. He's not a Heisman quarterback.
He's a serviceable quarterback.
Exactly.
I think if Travis Hunter stays on the field, I think it's his award to lose. If he stays healthy, personally. Yeah. Any last thoughts on the Heisman?
I mean, I couldn't agree more about the Genty thing. I think it's really from what it stands right now, those 2 are the best 2 players in college football, and that's what it'll be between. Outside of that, I don't really know. I don't know the logistics. I don't know the odds.
Yeah, I haven't even looked up the odds yet, but it better be those top 4.
I don't think it is. I remember looking at them the other day, and Travis Hunter wasn't top 5. I don't think he's like at
It probably is a
1100
lot
or
of
something.
quarterbacks.
Was
But
that, was
it
that
could have
after
changed.
Saturday, though?
I was gonna say it could have changed since then. I don't remember if it was before or after.
I mean, even if you look at it right now, Shador's not far off from being like cracking like top 6, top 7 of Heisman.
I think he
vote.
might be top 5.
Shador?
Yeah.
And what
Over
people are
Travis?
thinking right now.
I mean, considering his quarterback and I mean how well he's been playing, he's only had 1 interception I think the whole year.
Out of
Mhm.
everyone on Colorado, Shador is better than Travis. Is that what we're saying right now?
That's not what I'm saying.
I
think
know-
that's
I
what,
know,
that's
I-
what Vegas I think
okay.
is saying. I think that's what Vegas might be saying. Are you on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
They also just take him down randomly.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm looking right now.
Who can get
USA
it first?
Today. Their odds, which are pretty just general, probably for everybody. Jalen Milroe's leading it right now. Jesus, I'd gotten 42 ads since I opened up this page.
Do you have it or no?
No, I can't find Heisman.
I was gonna say I don't think they take him off like randomly.
Okay, so here are the odds from MGM as of Sunday morning.
Perfect.
From best to fourth is what I'll do it. Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Ashton Genty.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Travis Hunter's sitting at a plus 700, Cam Ward plus 500, and Jalen Milroe sitting at plus 175.
Book it.
plus 175
Travis
is
Hunter
the
plus
like the worst
700.
value for
Yeah.
plus 700 Travis Hunter.
I think plus 900 Genty
Yeah, it's also
on
both-
a roll something.
Both
And then-
kind of spicy.
Yeah. I think Milroe will have just too many iffy games this year,
Yeah.
in my personal opinion, to where he won't win it. And iffy is definitely like a very up and down word, because iffy could mean like 200 yards, 250
Mhm.
yards, 2 touchdowns,
Yeah.
but it's not those Heisman numbers you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I think he'll have just enough games to where that falters. I think Cam Ward has a pretty easy schedule. He'll probably go crazy throughout the year. Genty, pretty easy schedule. He'll go crazy throughout the year. Same with Travis Hunter. So I don't know. We'll see when it comes down to it. But I think that top 4 is not going to change unless some guy comes out the woodworks here soon and goes crazy.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well let's move on to Sunday. We're going to talk some NFL real quick. We have a lot of stuff to talk about this episode, so we're not going to go through every game this week. And I also didn't really get to watch many games. But we will start pretty cool for like the first time, I think, since we've been doing this. All 3 of our teams have won
Let's
on the same week. Because last week, if you guys won on Sunday Night Football,
Yeah.
all of our teams would have won again.
Yep.
But that didn't happen. Caden, his Broncos got to win. Jackson, his Falcons got to win. My Colts got to win. Hunter, who's not here, his Chiefs got to win. I mean, it's all his Steelers. If he claims the Steelers, they lost to my Colts. Right?
But if he claims
the Bears, they
yeah.
won against the Rams. So,
Mhm.
so it's all up in the air. But we'll start in Atlanta because that was the first game to end. You break down that game, how it went, and you beat a division rival. So talk about that and how big that is going forward for the NFC South.
No, yeah, it's definitely huge. The game was just a solid game throughout. I think our defense and special teams were huge in winning that game for sure. Kirk Cousins seemed to kind of come into his own kind of as that game went out. Tyler Algier has proven himself as probably one of the better backup running backs in the league.
Probably top 2.
Yeah, besides maybe like Jameer,
Yep.
David Montgomery. So, so he's proven himself there. I think this team's starting to kind of come into form a little bit. I mean, this is a team that just stomped out Dallas like not that long ago. So we're starting to figure it out, and I think it's a great time to do it. Especially, I think I said it last episode, or I said it on Sunday or something. We have a really hard start to our schedule. Yeah, no, we know. San Diego, it's a home run. Yeah. Anywho, back to good Atlanta news. We're starting to figure it out a lot better. And I think, like I was just saying, we have a very hard start to our schedule because we started off Steelers, Chiefs, Eagles, Saints. And then next week we play Bucks. And then after that, we have a pretty easy schedule in terms of ranking. So we have the potential to have a really, really good year. But yeah, in terms of beating a division rival, it's gigantic because we've already beaten one team who was maybe up in the air for us to beat. And so if we were only one win away from them, sweeping them, I think we will sweep the Panthers. And then it'll come down to how we play against the Bucks. If we can do really good against the Bucks and sweep them in the conference, I mean, if we can walk out with only maybe 2, in division losses,
Sitting pretty.
that's probably going to win you the entire division. So it's really huge, and I think we've had a few litmus tests so far, but I think Buccaneers are going to be the biggest one. How do we do against an in-division rival who's playing out of their mind currently, realistically? So
3-1.
Yep, and so we're just going to have to check and see how they do. But, yeah, I'm excited to see how this team keeps going moving forward. I think if Kirk can stay healthy, that's one of the biggest things. We'll be all right if everyone can kind of stay healthy. If we can maybe get Kyle Pitts involved a little bit more. He's been kind of just a no-show. But I like how we're playing. We played this game really good. Koo, probably one of the best kickers in the league in terms of consistency, power. Yeah, I mean, he kicked the longest field goal in Mercedes-Benz Stadium history.
Crazy stuff.
To win it, and his longest. So if we can keep this momentum going and if we can beat the Bucs, I'm going to start getting a little delusional. So, and I've been needing that a little bit in the NFL recently.
I guess two things. One, were we too early on the Saints, like collectively?
No.
With like that big Cowboys win, obviously they played the Panthers week 1. We weren't really excited about that, but they played the Cowboys, killed them, and we were like, okay, maybe something. And then I guess week 3 and 4, week 3 and 4. I mean, they've played. I mean, they played you guys this week. I forget who they played last week, but they struggled. Yeah, they struggled against the Eagles, and the Eagles kind of got their ass beat by the Bucs. So, like, were we just too early on the Saints? You think? Or
anybody who's been watching the Saints for long enough knows that their seasons are full of highs and lows. They'll beat a team. They'll beat the brakes off a team one week. They'll go and struggle the next week, and that kind of continues throughout the year. I don't know. We're going to have to – I think it's still just too early to really count them out just yet. And who knows? I mean, we can look back at the end of the year and just be like, maybe the Falcons and the Saints are two in the top 10 of the best teams in the NFL, and this might have just been a really good competition between those teams. We could look back and they could be middle-level teams, and this was just exactly that. So I don't know. I think it's kind of one of those – they're one of those teams you have to wait till the end of the year to really analyze to see how they were. But I don't know. I don't know if we're too early yet, but we might have been.
Yeah, I'm starting to think we might have been as well. All right, let's move into East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Denver Broncos won 10-9 against the New York Jets.
Absolute shootout.
Don't look now.
Don't let the donkeys get high.
Ooh,
Caden?
I mean, hey, a win's a win when it comes to the NFL. We've said it many times before, and I will take one against one of the supposed to be best teams in the league. Bo Nix, shitfest. I mean, let's just be real here. 60 yards. Javonte Williams had a great game, so he saved us. Bo Nix, though, did throw his first passing touchdown. So
I think it could be fair to blame a little bit of this on the weather.
Yeah.
Bo Nix's performance.
Sure. Heavy rain all game.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, a win's a win. We squeaked it out against one of maybe the best defenses in the league and against the Hall of Fame quarterback. So as the 32nd roster in the league, we're not too upset about that, I don't think.
And a little revenge game for Zach Wilson, who didn't play, obviously.
And for us.
And against Nathaniel Hackett for you guys. I mean, they beat you guys in Denver last year, so this has to feel good.
That was a hard one to watch.
Yeah.
And they killed us last year, didn't they?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Breece Hall ran all over them and then tore his ACL at the end of the game.
Broncos had the ball with 2 minutes left to win the game, and Russell Wilson scrambled out of the pocket and just straight up dropped the ball and gave it to him.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from this game is just our defense is not to mess around.
Pretty damn good.
We're looking really good right now. But
Sertan looks amazing.
Yeah. I think he's held everybody under 30 yards.
Yeah, under 30
and I think
yards.
DK had 29.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he looks insane. 88th ranked cornerback, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. PFF rankings.
PFF.
If anybody who has eyeballs and knows anything about football, he's definitely 1 or 2. Most likely 1.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's really a question anymore.
I mean, we talked about this the other night. The only reason he's not ranked higher is because he does his job, so the camera's not on him a lot, so you don't think about it.
And he doesn't get the ball thrown at him.
At all.
That's what you want,
Yeah.
Imagine him and Travis Hunter, DBs.
Him, Travis Hunter, Riley Moss.
No.
Wow, look at us go.
Get Riley Moss the hell out of here.
He's not playing too bad. He's playing all right. He's getting better.
Yeah, just a couple first 2 weeks were kind of rough. But
first 2 weeks were rough. I mean, but I think everyone was just throwing on him the first 2 weeks. Last week, I mean, he was the highest rated cornerback actually in the league.
Good for him. This past week?
Mm-hmm. Forced a fumble. Maybe was it this past week? Maybe I'm thinking about the week before.
I'm going to blame it on the weather.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about it and looking at Aaron Rodgers, and he's undoubtedly one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Mm-hmm.
4-time MVP.
Yeah, but what he's doing right now, while not horrible, while in comparison to what he has done, it's pretty obvious that we're coming to the end of the tunnel here.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers loves the game, but he also seems like the kind of guy who would, about halfway through the season, be like, I'm done.
He's questionable this week.
He's not going anywhere.
I know, but like it's just one of those things where he looks like he's not really meshing very well with Saleh. He's not able to get out of the pocket anymore, really. So it's just it struggles when they don't have the best offensive line, and when Broncos defense is that good.
Yeah.
That's just constant pressure on him. So he can't take that many hits during these games anymore, and can't get roughed around like he probably used to be able to. So I don't know. I think we're seeing kind of the end of what is one of the greatest stories in football.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks, one of the greatest ones to ever do it. So I don't know. We're seeing kind of the tail end of this, and I think the Jets are a team that still need a little bit of work.
Yeah.
And I think that he's not going to be able to stick around while they do all that work.
Speaking of fragility, you see he's questionable this week?
Yeah, I think he hurt his knee or something.
Yeah, he said it feels swollen.
Yeah, I think he said it on Pat McAfee today. But we will talk about how he might be getting help here soon. But first, let's go over to Indianapolis, where Anthony Richardson got hurt again, if you couldn't guess.
Glass bones.
Yeah, he lost our friend Keaton $22,000. That's brutal. One of our friends had a bet. I think it was only $10 or something like that. Put on like a crazy parlay. Every single leg hit except for one, which was Anthony Richardson. His under 55.5 or under 45.5.
Over rushing yards.
Oh, over 45.5.
And I think he had 20 something.
Yeah, 26 in the first half or whatever it was. Anthony Richardson went out of the game, but the unsung hero of last year, comeback player of the year of last year, Joe Flacco came in. I'm sure there was about half of the Colts coaches that were very excited, along with their fans. Obviously, everybody wants Anthony Richardson to be successful, but I think when Joe Flacco came into that game, I think everybody knew that the Colts were going to win. Just a testament to how good Joe Flacco is, and how good he has been his whole career. But the Colts beat a really good defense. We hand the Steelers their first loss. I enjoy that. I don't really know what to say. We lose our starting quarterback, presumably for at least 1 week. But, we come out with a win. And like we said earlier, for all of us, a win is a win at the end of the day. And we saw what Joe Flacco did last year. So worst comes to worst, if AR's out for a decent amount of time, I still believe Joe Flacco can win us some games.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially with how Jonathan Taylor's looked the past 2 weeks. He's been great. Michael Pittman finally came alive, 6 receptions, 113 yards. It just looks good. So we look better than we have. Obviously, to start the year, we started 0-2. Now we're 2-2. So are the Broncos. So, you're starting to see teams that started off a little rough trend in the right direction.
Yeah.
Whether injuries or not.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the team is at least meshing. So I don't really have many notes besides that. Yeah.
The decision to do a quarterback run right after your quarterback just obviously got hurt was definitely a decision.
It was a terrible decision by Shane Steichen. Yeah, some may be wondering if we wanted Joe Flacco in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in Shane Steichen's headset, and I honestly don't want to be, because I don't want to know the answer to that question. So other than that, Colts get a win, and I'm excited. And a win's a win. We'll move on to next week, and hopefully Anthony Richardson will get back healthy soon. I think it's a hip injury. Don't know how bad those can get.
Yeah.
I, again, don't really want it now, so we'll sit and find out. Before we move on from the NFL, we need to talk about a couple things, a couple news that just came out. Today, Von Miller, along with Mike Hall Jr., both got suspended for personal conduct violations, I believe. That is steroid. What did you say? Banned substances.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that's banned
PEDs.
substances. PEDs. It could be obviously steroids, whatever, but it also could just be something that got mixed up in
Medication.
pre-workouts, medications. There's a bunch of different ways that this can happen.
Some supplement that they don't like.
So we won't say it's just steroids out of nowhere, but we have to kind of mention that Von Miller got suspended for 4 games, or might have been 5 games, but
I think it's 4.
Yeah, 4 games. So we have to mention it because he's a legend here in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
So
they were burning his jersey.
I was literally about to say, what was up with that? He don't even play here anymore.
Yeah, they paid for you guys for 5 years.
Yeah, years.
I think it's been since, 2021?
I don't know. That was a traumatic experience in my life. I tend to block it out.
That was one of those guys that I thought was going to be just a Bronco for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I would never. Everyone was shocked. We don't need to reminisce on terrible times. But it's been several years. I saw the video and I was just like, I like had no offense towards it because I was just like, what does this mean? What did Vaughn do? I guess they knew about the steroids before we did.
Yeah, they must have found out. That's funny. Hey, Von Miller's technically a division rival for the Jets now too. So I mean,
that's fair. Yeah.
Wait, it was the Jets fans that were burning them, right?
Yeah.
They're burning it at the Broncos tailgate.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a Bill now. I mean, division rivals.
That's fair.
True.
You never know. Speaking of the Jets, speaking of Aaron Rodgers maybe getting some help, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL by the name of Davante Adams. Probably going to be, I'd say, a second ballot Hall of Fame right now.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, third ballot. I don't know how deep they go. But Davante Adams is requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders where he signed, 2 years ago on that huge deal, leaving Green Bay for the first time in his career. He wanted his money. He wanted to go play in Vegas. Safe to say this experiment did not go well.
No, yeah, I think he immediately regretted it as soon as he played like 2 games there. I think he immediately was like, this is a poor choice. Everyone in the league is going to be throwing an offer at him because I think he's just old enough to the point to where you don't have to give as much. I think a lot of what I was seeing on like ESPN is like a lot of people throwing second rounders with additional stuff in there. There's a ton of teams that could use him. The Jets could use him. Get that connection back with Rodgers and Adams, but I mean he could go anywhere, and I think he's going to want to go to a pretty good team because does he have that clause where he can kind of like veto?
I have no clue. I haven't looked in that. I just know he requested a trade, or he
prefers
a trade.
Yeah,
whatever.
Which I mean, I don't really blame him. I think that Raiders team is kind of at a dead end right now in terms of like what they're going to do in the near future. I could see them kind of figuring something out here soonish in the next couple of years, maybe being a good team. But I think for right now, they are at a very dead-end stop. And I think Davante Adams is not one of those guys who wants to ride out a career on a team that's not going to win anything. No. He wants a ring. He wants to go to the Super Bowl. He wants to be put up there for MVP.
I just think he wants a good quarterback.
Yeah, that's also a big thing. And, like, not to say Gardner's a horrible quarterback, but I think he wants a solid stay quarterback that he knows, like, I can go here for 4 years. It's going to be the same guy, same coordinator for 4 years. Like, I think that's what he wants. So
he had it all.
He had it all.
The Kay Adams interview is definitely the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Whenever she was like, he liked his post, and he was like, no, that had to be it. Because, I mean, it was within like an hour that he preferred a trade. Yeah. I was crying.
No, that was literally within like 3 hours minimum.
Yeah,
like,
I saw the Kay Adams thing where she was like, what do you think about this? And he's like, no one's reached out to me. And then the next thing I see about him is he prefers a trade. And I was like, oh, that was it? He was done.
Yeah. Shout out Kay Adams.
And I think also something that might go into it is it's why maybe he waited till right now to say it is I think everyone's starting to realize that the Antonio Pierce experiment is failing horrendously. Yeah. So I think right there he's like, okay, if I stay on this team, I'm probably about to be in a vicious coaching carousel for probably the next couple of years. And, like, we might not find our guy, and that's just going to – you can't win when you're bouncing around that many coaches. Like, it's just impossible. So, I don't know. I think maybe that might have a hand in it, him seeing that his head coach is not the guy to get it done. And so I think that could have a hand in it.
I'd say interesting timing, too, with the Jets losing kind of in a weird fashion this past week. And Aaron Rodgers also going on Pat McAfee. They did their media runs today, both of them. One on Pat McAfee, one on Kay Adams, and they both had something to say. I wouldn't say about this situation in general, but just both doing their media runs. And then it comes out, a couple hours later that he wants a trade. It could get interesting, and I've been calling this since I think 2 years ago. Whenever Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, I said there was no way Davante Adams does not go to the Jets by a certain point. But there's also a couple other places you can go. Ravens, obviously, always looking for wide receiver help. Just came out that the Chiefs are looking maybe at Tyreek again.
I heard that there was a package. I don't know if that was real or not, but
yeah.
like it was just a whole bunch of draft picks.
I think the NFL is probably gonna have one of the most interesting trade deadlines it's had in a while.
Yeah.
Because usually it's
Yeah.
the NBA, the MLB who have these huge ones. NHL too has some pretty big ones, but the NFL is usually never really big around the trade deadline.
Yeah,
Couple deals here and there, but there's no like blockbusters.
Yeah, and we could see a team like the Dolphins being a huge seller at that deadline and being like, okay, quarterback's in and out. He's going to get another concussion most likely, and he's going to have to quit eventually from all of those concussions. And so they're like, oh, shit, our shit's about to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Our team's not in a place to really do anything right now. And
Get as much value as you can for
and
Tyreek Hill.
you could throw Tyreek Hill. I think they'd keep Jalen Waddle. You could dish out one of the running backs. I think they keep Achane, but I think they could get rid of
Jalen Ramsey might be out of there.
Yeah, and then Mostert. People would take Mostert
Oh, yeah.
for sure. So you could see about 4 or 5 guys off that team getting thrown just because they're kind of like the Raiders, a little dead end stop of like, we can't have a team where the quarterback goes down and all of a sudden our entire momentum is just gone. So I think they could be a huge seller. I think the Chiefs could be a big buyer. I think the Chiefs would be willing to get rid of some pieces as well to bring in another receiver for Patrick Mahomes, because realistically, the only thing that matters for the Chiefs, in my opinion, is the passing game. Like, I think that's what matter. Like, in terms of like making Mahomes happy and them succeeding, a lot of it has almost always relied on the passing.
It's
game.
their passing game and their defense.
And if you have Pacheco,
And then once they get Pacheco back, they're
Yeah.
running the whole running issue solved.
Exactly.
So I think this is going to be a crazy deadline, and I think also it kind of kicked this off. I don't know if anybody remembers. I think it was like Thursday. Devontae Adams and Max Crosby both just got announced that they weren't playing in like the middle of the week last week randomly. Like nobody nobody knew that they. I guess they were limited practice or not practicing. Like people knew that part, but they weren't even like questionable or anything. Like they didn't go from healthy to questionable or questionable to doubtful. No, they went from who knows to not practicing to out.
Yeah.
And I think that might kind of kicked off a few things too.
The way that was broke was so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Them just asking Antonio Pierce, and he's like, nope. And he's like, Max Crosby, nope.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, nope. And there was one other person who's like, nope. And I was just like, that's insane.
It's a lot of weird things going on, and I think this has potential to be a great deadline for the NFL. I don't know when it is. I don't think it's probably
week 8 or 9. It's halfway through the season.
Oh yeah,
so
I think they moved it back to week 9 this year, something like that.
Yeah.
Only 4 more weeks away.
I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of big dumps and a lot of buyers.
Yeah.
Like just depending on where seasons go, I feel like a lot of teams are bought in, and if their season's not going to where they want it to be, they're just going to start dumping.
Yep.
And I think on the exact opposite scale of that, a lot of teams are playing really well. And if they have the chance to go get someone, they're going to go.
It's going to be a very MLB-esque.
Yeah, I agree.
We could see Devontae Adams go to a very interesting team.
Yeah.
Like
Ravens.
I mean, like you could see him bounce, like even like the Broncos, Falcons, like
Right.
all these teams
Yeah.
are
There's lots of
weirdly
things
in there.
Yeah.
Like, I think because it's not going to take much.
Oh,
to really
I
get
know
him.
where nobody will go is the Colts because Chris Ballard's a fucking idiot. So, and he refuses to trade for anybody good ever. So, please, one time if they're available, like Terry McLaurin was available like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
He's still in Washington.
Yep.
Oh, wait, that's the last thing we have to mention before. Let's not ramble on it. But one more thing before the NFL, we stop this. Jalen Daniels.
Dog.
I mean, what in the world?
Great.
What in the world?
I mean, yeah, I think after
He's amazing.
After this week and after what he's been doing, I think the only question mark around him anymore is his health. I think that's the only thing is can his body hold up for multiple years in the NFL, which I don't think it can. So
if it does,
I mean, this guy could be a problem for years to come, a Lamar Jackson type issue for a lot of teams. So they might have found them a little gem, and I don't know. I think when you look back at it, maybe he was the better number 1 pick to take.
I was going to say, people are saying that the new number 1 pick is now the number 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing that a lot of people overlooked and oversighted with Caleb Williams is the shit that he was getting away with in college. They should have been able to maybe pick up the fact that you can't really get away with that in the NFL, which I think he'll figure that out eventually. He's not faster than everybody on the field anymore. Like, that's just not the case. So he's got to learn to lock down in that pocket. But Jaden Daniels is a serious issue and has made that Washington team a serious contender to win the NFC East.
I think I picked him for my offensive rookie of the year, but I also
You did.
I know I did, but I said I want to say I think just in case, but I don't think it's crazy. He's not in the MVP conversation right now. We'll skip a level right now. I mean, they're 3-1 as the Washington Commanders. Let's be real. First time head coach or I don't know if Dan Quinn's been a head coach, but first time in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Kingsbury, now the OC,
Yeah.
his first year in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole roster is pretty much turned over. New owner, new GM. Jalen Daniels is obviously brought in there and is supposed to just lead this team. They're 3-1 right now, top of the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
If they win the NFC East, book him top 3 MVP. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree. If he can take that team and lead him to that, I don't see a universe where he's not at least looked at in that conversation.
And the one stat before I'll let you say your piece about this too, but the one stat I think is just crazy. It's 82% completion percentage
Mhm.
through 4 games, which is the best ever.
Yeah.
Not for a rookie, not for anybody, just the best four-game stretch out of anybody ever.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, Elway, I think he beat them both. I think one of them was like 81 or something like that.
Mhm.
Other one 79. He's at like 82.84 or something.
And they've only punted once
Yeah,
this
it's,
entire year.
More scoring drives than incompletions.
that's insane.
Absolutely insane. 23 scoring drives, 19 incompletions.
That's just awesome.
I don't. What do you even do about that? That's insane. I was just walking down the field.
Even if he takes a little step back, I think he's still highly on pace to win that offensive rookie.
And if
Oh,
their
yeah.
if their defense plays as good as they played against like Arizona, holding them
Mhm.
to only I think it was 13, 14 points.
yeah.
I mean, Washington's
Yeah.
good. We talked about Washington being
We did.
frisky. Washington might be pretty
It
good.
might be more than frisky.
They might be more than frisky. We're gonna have to monitor their friskiness going forward. So,
We're gonna put a friskometer on them.
all right, okay, this will be a great transition. Speaking of frisky,
Oh God.
I think that should be Cat's new nickname. Let's move on to the NBA real quick. Before we get to a break, we got to break down one blockbuster trade that just happened in the NBA. It feels like we didn't have one all summer, which is a little weird.
Once it happened, I was like, "This was it.
A
This
little
was
weird.
the one."
And they wanted to wait till Woj retired. No more Woj bombs.
Yeah.
That kind of hurt.
We got Chamber alerts.
Just Chamber. Karl Anthony Towns, other known as Big Purr, other known as the third best center out of the 2014 draft class, other known as
Oh, I saw a good one. It was for New York. I don't remember what it was.
Big Capel, something like that.
It was like Bodega Purr. Or
Oh,
something.
Bodega. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, Karl Anthony Towns, formerly with the Minnesota Timberwolves, great player actually, All-Star. I think he's like 6-7-time All-Star. He was traded to the New York Knicks in exchange for Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. I think it's good that we mention this, considering we have a couple Knicks fans that listen to this.
Mhm.
I'll start with this one. I'll start with this because the NBA is my passion,
Yeah.
to say the least. I think a couple things come out of this trade. One, I think New York improves. So I don't think that's a question.
Mhm.
They have no center right now. Mitchell Robinson is out for God knows how long because Joel Embiid decided to hurt him like he usually does.
Yeah.
Criminal.
And then Isaiah Hartenstein is now on the Thunder. So they had no center going into like the last 2 months. They get Karl Anthony Towns. Then they lose Julius Randle. I think the biggest issue going into this year was going to be spacing
Mhm.
for the New York Knicks. And when they lose Dante DiVincenzo, obviously that hurts. But when you slide Cat in there, I mean, he's a 40% three-point shooter.
Mhm.
He's also a big. Jalen Brunson loves to attack the rim, loves to play from the top of the key, kind of just forward to the hoop, mid-range, whatever. Having Cat helps, space the floor out.
Yeah.
And not having Julius Randle helps space the floor out,
Yeah.
especially when they have guys like OG, Mikal Bridges. It's going to be interesting where they put like Josh Hart. I think he's going to be more in like the dunker spot role, kind of what Aaron Gordon does for the Nuggets, because he's a good rebounder too.
Mhm.
And I think Cat's biggest issue in Minnesota before like why they brought Gobert there is he just couldn't like rebound the ball or play defense in the interior himself. When you have guys like OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, guys that will rebound and that will help like play defense in the post, play physical, help limit the guards from getting to the post and wings. I think it's going to help Cat. So
Mhm.
I think ultimately the Knicks get better. Obviously losing Dante DiVincenzo kind of sucks,
Mhm.
especially they lose the Nova Boy thing, which I think you'll want to talk about. And then Minnesota. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Karl Anthony Towns had a crazy contract, and when you have a guy like Naz Reid, where you can kind of throw in, and then you just kind of rent Julius Randle for a year, and then you get to get him $30 million off your books, and you don't really have to worry about Cat's contract. I get it. You can maybe pair another guy in the future with Anthony Edwards, gives your team a little bit of space.
Mhm.
But they just totally gave away the mold for beating the Denver Nuggets. I think that case is evident.
Mhm.
But as a Nuggets fan, it also kind of worries me, and you might be surprised by this. Obviously, they give up the scheme, whatever. They beat us, and then they just throw it all away, which you might be thinking, oh, why the hell would you be upset with that? Upset with that. Tim Conley went to Minnesota from the Nuggets, noticed that the Nuggets were going to be the team to beat. I'm starting to think that the Western Conference doesn't think the Nuggets are going to be the team to beat anymore. What this trade did was put them up in position to be able to guard the Mavericks of the world, the Thunder of the world. I don't think the Pelicans will be good, but like a team like the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, that's what this really matches up for. So I don't know if maybe Minnesota's just overlooking the Nuggets now that they beat us one time, and maybe they have what they think they need to beat us, or if they just don't even think we're a threat anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Nuggets are such a sound team, and I think that's the biggest part of why they should be probably feared by a lot of the teams. So in the Western, so I don't know. I think they're so sound. They've been together for so long. They've molded really well together, and I think they're just a solid team together. And I think that's why they're so dangerous, whereas a lot of these teams have been kind of throwing people around, trying to figure something out. So I don't know. I think the Nuggets are the team to kind of fear in the West currently. I think they're just, like I said, they're sound. And I think that the Timberwolves have gotten not as good. I think they've lost a premier player, which I think could end up kind of hurting them just a little bit. And with the Knicks, I think they've just made themselves a powerhouse basketball team, in my personal opinion. I think having that size later in the year, especially in playoff runs and stuff like that, I think they're going to be.
Well, what the Knicks did is just perfectly match up with the Celtics. Like, Cat's a perfect stretch big to match up with Porzingis. Having OG and Mikal Bridges line up with the two J's on the other side. I mean, that's what they did. But, the only thing I'd be worried about for the Knicks is if they run into Joel Embiid. As much as I hate the guy and I think he's ass and never mind, I don't want to say it. He's probably a good human being. He is. Besides stealing American jobs, I'll never forget that. Karl-Anthony Towns struggles against Joel Embiid, like really badly. Like Joel Embiid kind of kills him. I think Joel Embiid has had a 60-point game on the Timberwolves before, so that's the only thing I would be worried about if I was the Knicks. But other than that, I mean, I think they built a team that can compete with the Celtics, which I think is the goal in the East. So,
back to the point of what the Timberwolves are trying to do. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like you said, are they just overlooking the Nuggets? Which I
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. But I still don't think that we're not contenders. Like I wouldn't say that. I don't know if anyone would say that. So did they just throw out your game plan for someone you're going to possibly play? I feel like doesn't make any sense. I don't know also that Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo are giving them that much of an edge against anyone else in the West. That's like that much of a beatable edge where they're doing something.
I think this might be like a 1-year experiment. Like I don't think Julius Randle's going to be there for long. I think he's going to be. I think he only has 1 more year left on his deal. I think he's probably going to be out of Minnesota. It just clears up cap space, and maybe there's another free agent 2 years down the road. Who knows what Kevin Durant's going to be doing in 2 years? Obviously he's getting old, but you never know. Dante DiVincenzo will be there for a while though.
Yeah,
but continue if you'd like.
I mean, no, I don't know. I think as a Nuggets fan, we talked about this when it happened. I was completely happy and okay with that. Get that 2 7-footer shit out of here. I will gladly.
They still have Naz Reid. They still
do.
Which I don't want to overlook.
Yeah, which is a great point. That is a great point. You should not overlook Naz Reid because he kind of cooked us.
He did
last year.
He did cook us.
They still do have 2 7-footers when you really break it down, and one Naz Reid could probably start for most teams in the league. Realistically,
that's my only thing where my head is at is that could possibly be the only solution. Is they're like, all right, we got
I think
still got Gobert, throw in Naz. I think Julius Randle will start, but when it comes down to
Naz, was Naz 4?
Yeah, I mean they still have the other dude too. He sucks, but the white dude that played at Iowa.
Luke? No, was it Lucas?
I don't know. He sucks anyway. I don't know what I'm talking about. He gets shoot though. But like I think they'll start Julius Randle, but Naz Reid will finish the games with that group, and that will give trouble to the Denver Nuggets. But
I agree.
But losing Cat, he's a 20.
I think that's exactly what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's gonna work.
Why have Rudy Gobert, Because when is Naz Reid's contract up? They're gonna have to pay him soon.
I think they already extended him last year.
Did they?
Pretty sure.
Oh, I don't know what they're doing. Because I don't know. I
think they're just getting off Cat's contract, which isn't a terrible idea.
No, I agree.
But I guess we'll save that for the NBA preview coming up in a few weeks. NBA and NHL preview. Stay tuned. All right, we're going to get to a break. Jackson's going to tell you about Verbidity Bars for at least 1 more week. And then we'll be back on the other side to talk fall, postseason baseball, and one more couple headlines.
Verb Energy bars give you that extra boost that you need in the morning. They have an assortment of different types of bars, whether it's from caffeinated bars for the morning, as well as protein bars, whether in the morning or after your workouts. My personal favorite right now is the chocolate chip banana bread. It's awesome. Helps me get through the day, through the podcast, also through the work throughout the week. So right now, if you go onto their website, use code ROCKSOLID, you can get 30% off your next order. Verb Energy is the best way to start your day. Go check them out.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the show. I want to first start by saying we kind of talked about it earlier, but it is fall now. Today was the first day I walked outside in the morning, and I was freezing my ass off at work. I hated it, every single bit of it. And I know for the next month, especially for how my work schedule goes, I'm going to have to deal with very cold weather in the mornings. And that's like the worst parts of fall for me. But the best parts of fall, not to mention the sports. We'll mention the sports in a second because it's a huge month, maybe the biggest month for sports. Just in general, the fall. The fall is an amazing time.
It really is.
I'll break down my favorite parts, but I want you guys to break down your favorite parts of fall too. It's officially spooky season, as they would say.
It is. One of my favorite parts is what sounds like your least favorite part. I love when it gets cold. I can rock the sweatshirts.
You work inside.
And the hoodies. When we go outside, it feels nice. Like I'm kind of you love the summer for about 2 months.
Yeah, agreed.
And then you keep sweating, and it gets old. And it's like I just want to go outside on like a good day, and it's like 75. There's a couple clouds in the sky. There's a cool breeze. And it just feels awesome outside.
I do want to retract the one statement. I do enjoy fall weather, just not when I have to work in it.
That's true. But yeah, I think it's that. And also just kind of like everything gets real beautiful. Like all the leaves start changing and everything like that. It's awesome. I'm not the biggest Halloween person. I do love it, but I don't love it as much as like Christmas, Thanksgiving. Those are mine. But like I do like this area of the year, because you're starting to kind of bring in the year. Everyone's starting to get that.
The start of fall is the start of holiday season.
Exactly. And that's what I was about to say is, you start getting that holly jolly kind of happiness, and you're like, you know what, it's been a rough year. Let's pull it together. Let's have a good couple months. Let's be nice to people. People be nice to you. I think everyone starts to kind of get into a better groove of their life in this point of the year.
Q4, baby, Q4.
That's right.
So I think it's just a great time of year because everyone's kind of in good spirits a lot of the times, and weather gets nice, things get beautiful, and sports. Yeah.
For you?
As a fellow working outdoorsman, the cold does fuck me up. I do like. My thing is, I agree with your take 100%. You get through summer. This is for every season though. Once you get through about a few months of it, you're like, all right, I'm done. It's when it gets to fall. Okay, I wouldn't say fall and spring because they're like middle grounds.
Yeah.
But like winter, summer, when it's extreme, when it gets too cold, like after a few months of winter, I'm like, I'm done.
I just spring.
Yeah, I want it to be hot.
Yeah.
But beautiful. I agree. My mind was going to be sports. This is when everything I love starts to come to a head. Basketball is about to start.
So we'll get to that in 2 seconds.
Okay.
I won't get to that in 2 seconds. I wanted to recap what you just said because I liked what you just said. December into spring. We kind of have that feeling of when the season changes is right when the Masters come.
Yeah.
It's like mid-late April.
Yep.
Baseball's about to start.
Yep.
The golf season's about to start. You kind of get that feeling. I think that's kind of the exact what we just got today.
Yeah.
Not even a couple days ago, not even like a week ago, today.
I think you walk outside and it just changed.
And it changed. And you got that feeling in your head of like, oh, it's the fall now. And with that comes a couple things. You can say it again.
Sports.
Today, postseason baseball started, which we're about to talk about in a second.
Friday,
and the Nuggets and Celtics play in Abu Dhabi. Preseason basketball is already here. Preseason hockey's been going for like a week now. NHL starts, I think, in like 2 weeks, if not like a week and a half. NCAA college football week 5, or week 5 just happened. NFL week 5 next week. Golf is pretty much over. It's a weird time, but it's like one of the best times, especially for sports. Oh, and the NASCAR playoffs are on if anybody gives a shit. Boogity. Fast and left. But yeah, I think a couple of my favorite parts of fall. Real quick before we dive into postseason baseball, I think. HBO Max released 30 new movies today.
Wow.
I think
I'm sorry, 30.
something like that. All horror films and Halloween films, all that.
Yep.
The Trap is on there. That I just believe just came out in theaters like 2-3 months ago.
Heard it was booty.
I heard it was booty. Oh, we also need to talk about the Joker movie after we're off air because I heard it was ass. But I mean, I'm not the hugest or biggest pumpkin guy, but pumpkin bread. I'm a fan of that. I'm not really a coffee guy, so the pumpkin spice whatever's from Starbucks not my thing. But the fact that I even get to see the commercials, the fact that I get to see pumpkins outside, knowing haunted houses are opening soon, pumpkin patches. I have to go there, get busy. You know what I'm talking about?
Whoa.
I did.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's spooky season when you get the Release the Beast Reese's commercial with the skeletons.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's time.
So to wrap this fall talk up, we just want to wish everybody a happy fall. Like you kind of said, it's a time where everybody kind of locks in towards the end of the year. We all just want to make it to New Year's happy, healthy, and financially better than the state we are in right now, especially myself.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good time for everybody, and I encourage everybody to enjoy the changing of the seasons. Enjoy being, holidays, being with your family, being with your friends, just, enjoying the little things. And I think fall really helps that after summer tends to be a wild time in most people's lives. So with that comes postseason baseball, which has actually started today. I've watched it all day while I was at work. While I got home from work, as you saw earlier in the show, Jackson kind of reacted to a 2-run homer from Fernando Tatis against his Atlanta Braves.
Cheater.
But yes, I'll agree with that one. But I think we should back up to Monday before postseason baseball started. There was a game, or a couple games in baseball that usually don't happen. Usually once game 162 happens, but we kind of had a game 161 and 162 on the same day. I think you should break that down real quick because it involved your Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, so it was a doubleheader between the Mets and the Braves that had gotten rained out about a week prior, and what would have been a very cool series between the two teams became a crucial series between the two teams. They both needed a win to get into the postseason, and the D-backs were waiting to see if one team would win both games so they could get in. But I was talking to Caden on the way in here. There was no chance that the Arizona Diamondbacks were getting into the postseason. Whoever won the first game was going to lose the second one. Whoever lost, vice versa. So I think that, one team pulls, the other person pulls a couple people. Not the same team. They don't really have that fight to keep going, really. And so the Braves ended up winning the second game after a close loss in the first one. Very back and forth. Francisco Lindor.
Great game.
Really kind of sealed that one home. The guy's a dog. Don't know what else to say about it. But yeah, no, you kind of love it when this kind of thing happens because, like you said, it is pretty rare in baseball for, the last two games of the season to really be like a get-in game.
We got playoff baseball a day early, essentially.
Yeah. And I think, a couple storylines for each of the teams. Like, I think the Mets, they roared back. They had a great stretch where they were able to kind of crack into the conversational wild card over the past month and were able to kind of crack in there. The Braves, as a Braves fan, I'm extremely proud of them being able to get in with how they kind of persevered through everything. They showed, days on IL for the Braves, and I want to say there were 6 or 7 players that had over 40 days on the IL. So the fact
6 or 7 players that matter.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like Michael Harris, Albies, Acuna, Austin Riley,
Sean
Murphy, Spencer Strider. All these guys were out, and we still found a way to win and get in. But yeah, it was a pivotal series, and it was really fun to watch. And I'm happy that honestly both these teams made it in. It was really cool to kind of see that. But now we get into the stretch of actual playoffs, and we are in the wild card.
What once was called Rocktober is now just October. If you want to talk about your thoughts going into postseason, I know you don't really have anybody in the race this year, but what you may be most excited about, if there's a matchup that intrigues you, maybe in this wild card series, maybe going forward, possibilities.
I've never had a dog in the race, okay? I was about 6 years old the last time a dog was in the race, and I don't even remember.
What hat are you wearing today?
Oh, it's not a Rockies one.
Is it?
It's the construction one.
Oh, damn it.
What do you think it was? Oh, no.
I won't say it publicly. I'll let you keep it private. It's a Dodgers hat.
It is a Dodgers hat. Win in LA, I'll admit to that. But I don't know. I mean baseball. It's almost the same thing as basketball. No one really gives a shit until like the end of the season, and once we get here, and this is when everyone starts watching. And this is, like you said, yesterday was an insane slate, and by a slate I mean one game,
2 games, yeah,
2 games,
literally
but
2
yes,
games, yeah.
but yeah, that it was just a little preview of what is to come. And I feel like as someone who hasn't been the biggest baseball guy for the longest time, like the Royals being in here, when was the last time that happened?
2015 is the last time they won the World Series, but
Tigers, I feel like, is fairly new too. I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
I mean, baseball has always been the one sport I feel like where it's different a lot.
Yeah.
Like in football, you see a lot of repeating people getting in there. Basketball, you see a lot of repeating teams kind of getting close to it. Baseball is one of the sports where at any time we could see the damn Padres playing the Indians or Guardians.
Whoa!
In the
Shut it down.
But yeah, we can see the Guardians playing like the Padres in the World Series this year. Like it's always been that way where it's very up and down. If you're a 1 seed, it doesn't really mean shit. You kind of have to play on an even level when you're playing these games. So it is really, really cool to see that.
Ironically, the 2 teams you guys kind of just mentioned that really enticed me going into this playoffs. I guess 3. I'll throw in the Mets in there at the end. But the Detroit Tigers, I loved Tariq Skubal. 1, because I have him on MLB The Show. 2, because I picked him to win the Cy Young in the AL at the beginning of the year, and I think he's actually going to win it. So I'm very excited about that. The Cleveland Guardians, I feel like they've gone kind of under the radar all year.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez had 39 homers and 40 stolen bases this year. No one really talked about it. So that was kind of under the radar. Yeah. The Guardians, I think, were like the number 1 seed almost all year until the last week of the season, when it was between like them, the Orioles, and the Yankees kind of the whole time in the AL. They end up getting the 2 seed and a bye. I think that's awesome for Cleveland, especially because I lived there for like a year. So it was kind of I know how many fans they have. They have a bunch, and they're really passionate about their baseball teams, their football teams, all their teams. So just to see kind of the run for Cleveland sports in this last couple of years, being the Browns making it to the playoffs with Joe Flacco, the Cavs kind of being in the playoffs last 2-3 years with Donovan Mitchell, and now the Guardians being a 2 seed going into the playoffs. And they have a great pitching staff, great bullpen. I could really see them making some noise out of the AL. And then, like you said, the Mets. I mean, what an incredible season. Started off with the Grimace McDonald's shake, them winning like 8 straight games of behind this whole Grimace character.
Bro, that's how long these seasons are. That feels like years ago.
Yeah.
That was in like May or something. Yeah. And then them becoming the OMG Mets. I mean, what a great nickname for literally an OMG season. So, and as I know, as much as you probably do not like the Mets just as a division rival, it's just incredible to see all the storylines, the Braves making it in with all these injuries. The Padres suck. The Phillies are pieces of shit. The Orioles, kind of cool to see their name back in here. Like you mentioned, Kansas City. The Yankees are the Death Star. So, I mean, it's exciting. And for me, being a Dodgers fan, this is like the one, I'd say the last 3 years that actually feels like we can win it. I think it was 2021 or 2022. Whenever we had Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, that was kind of the last time I was like, this team will actually win the World Series. In the last couple of years, it's been a little rough. So to see a team like, kind of the same as you guys, where most of our pitching staff was hurt the whole year. Mookie was on IL for tons of time. Freddie was on IL. So, I mean, just it was rough. And somehow we still finished with the number 1 seed in MLB. So I couldn't be more proud of those guys. But now, 11 games, you just got to win 11. And that starts now. Couldn't be more excited. I think it's only right that we make our picks. Let's go AL Championship League matchup, NL Championship League matchup, World Series matchup winner. Who wants to go first?
I'll start her off here. I think that the Detroit Tigers take it all the way to the ALCS. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I think they are on a historic type of run right now. I think I just looked at their schedule. I think in the last 28 games, they've won 20 of them. So they're on that big of a roll right now. And I think
they have arguably the best pitcher in baseball right now.
And I mean, they're in a very Phillies situation right now from last year, where they got hot at the exact right moment, about 20 to 30 games out, and they just took over that part of their schedule. They're coming in hot. The Astros kind of cruise to the wild card. They kind of got to the point they needed to be, and then they kind of wrote it out. And so I think that they're going to be able to beat them. They're already up 1-0 in the series right now.
The series might be over by the time this comes out, too.
No, yeah. So, I mean, me and Caden talked about on the way up here, you know, in the ALDS, ALCS, you can blow the first game, and it's kind of whatever. You blow the first game in the wild card, probably not. I think we just saw a stat, and I wanted to bring it up, that 88% of teams that won the first game ended up winning the series. So I think that's going to hold true here. I think Detroit wins it. I'm not too up to date on the Guardians, to be honest with you, but I think there's nothing more unbeatable than a hot baseball team when your guys know to put that barrel on the bat or the ball in the barrel. I think it's kind of untouchable. So I think they go all the way there to the ALCS. I do think the Yankees do go to the ALCS. I think they're kind of a juggernaut right now. And I do have the Yankees probably pulling that one out. I do see the Yankees going to the World Series. I think if there's a year that they're going to do it, it's probably this year. I know I'm 2 for 2. I picked the Cowboys and the Yankees to go to the biggest show in their sport. So
Lakers are next.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But so that's my pick in the AL. But for the NL, I really do think the Mets will end up winning the series against the Brewers, and I think they do beat the Phillies. I don't know why. I have a feeling like they are hot right now, and I think the Phillies might kind of sleep on them a little bit.
Did I tell you that earlier? I think I might have mentioned that.
And the Mets are one of those teams. We saw it today. We saw it yesterday, that they are a team that can put up 8 to 9 runs on you in the blink of an eye. And I think that the Phillies might be going in a little bit too high and mighty going into this game. I could see it going either way, but I do think the Mets do beat the Phillies. I think they go to the NLCS. I think, right now the Braves are playing the Padres right now. I don't know if we're going to win. We have to win this game. I think the Braves have to win this game to do anything of significance, but the fact that we made it this far is amazing. The Padres, I do think, win this series. I think they go on to play the Dodgers, and I think the Dodgers are just a bit too much to handle for the Padres. I think if there's a year where the Dodgers are truly the best team in baseball, it's this year. So I think they move on. I think the Mets give the Dodgers an interesting series, but I think at the end of the day, we're looking at maybe a gentleman's sweep or maybe a 4-2 victory there. So I think they move on. I do think it's going to be the Dodgers and the Yankees, both the number ones on each side, going against them.
Who's going to win?
And I got to be honest, it's such a tight one because I think the story that's going to, after the game is all settled and done, the lights are off, everyone's gone home, the biggest thing everyone will be talking about is pitching. And I think the Dodgers have a rough pen right now, which is it's hard to deal with. I think the Yankees, I'm not too up to date on how their bullpen's looking at the moment, but I'm assuming it's okay. It's about normal.
It's also struggled a little bit, but not as bad as the Dodgers.
Yeah, but I do think that the Dodgers' bats are the best in the MLB, and I think they're hard to stop. And I think that, this is what I said when the Braves won in 2021. I said, I think we're going to win because you have to average probably 4 to 6 runs a game to beat the 2021 Braves. I think that story holds true for the Dodgers. I don't think that the Yankees can average those amount of runs every single game, and I think the Dodgers take them over. I think they win it all.
Especially when they're not playing in their Little League stadium. Go ahead.
I have only one thing to change about everything that was just said. I think it's going to be the Guardians instead of the Tigers. I don't think Royals or Orioles really have a chance of beating the Yankees. But I do think it's going to be the Guardians, and I honestly, like you said, they've slept under the radar. Even myself didn't realize how good they were until you start looking and you start watching. I think it's Guardians, Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, and like I said, everything you said, I think I agree with. Dodgers end up taking it home. Those bats are too hot, and when you have young Ohtani, my money's on him. I think this year.
All right.
Let's just pretend we didn't say that, though. I don't want to blow this guy's head up too much.
Let me get shameless real quick. Couple things. One, kind of funny. Royals, Orioles, like you kind of just said, Kansas City versus Baltimore. Kind of funny. Just the NFL all over again, except these two teams are mid. No, actually, the Orioles are pretty good. I was actually shocked that Kansas City beat them today, 1-0. My pick out of that series will probably still be the Orioles. I think Kansas City can easily win. Having Salvi Perez as, the veteran there, especially, I think experience rolls a long way in postseason baseball, and the Orioles just don't really have much of it. So I'll switch my pick. I'll go Kansas City. They're up 1-0. Why not? I'm going to pick the Tigers. I picked the Tigers beating the Astros a week ago or 3 days ago whenever we found out that was going to be the pick. I think they have the best pitcher in baseball. He proved it today. Shut down the Astros completely. And like you said, the Tigers' bats are the hottest you could possibly get. Mets Brewers. I was going to pick the Mets, not even because they won today, but just because they have probably the runner-up in NL MVP and Francisco Lindor, who's been amazing, and just how good they looked on Monday against the Braves, and how they can catch lightning in a bottle kind of ASAP. I thought that was kind of cool. The one I've been dreading picking, but will be the most exciting to watch, I think, in the wild card series will be the Padres Braves. I'd rather, as a Dodgers fan, play the Braves just how banged up they are, and because we lost to the Padres like 2 years ago, and I just can't do that again because I could not go on Twitter for weeks without just seeing Padres fans making fun of us. I don't like that. So I'm going to pick still the Padres in that, and I'm very sad because I think they're going to move on. And then we move on to the CS in both sides. I do think the Guardians will beat the Tigers. I think their pitching staff's too good. Jose Ramirez is amazing, like I mentioned earlier. And then we'll move on to New York. Give me the Royals.
Oh.
For no other reason besides I'm going to be a hater.
There you go.
I was about to say I think you pulled the quickest 180 of all time. You went from the KC
Orioles.
losing that wild card to them beating the Yankees.
Yep.
Love it.
Aaron Judge has never had a big moment in his career that actually mattered.
Uh-oh.
Has he?
No, I'm just...
No.
Go, talk your shit.
Juan Soto, he won a World Series in Washington, but that was 2019. We're how many years removed from that?
5.
We went through a global pandemic.
Yeah,
We all almost died.
Like, what are we doing here? Garrett Cole's good. I know they have the good rookie. I have two of them, Austin Wells, and then the pitcher, I forget his name, some Luis Gill, I think, or something like that. He's really good. Anthony Rizzo just got hurt again. I think he fractured something in his fingers or whatnot, so he's going to be out a while. I just don't think they're that deep as a lineup. Neither do I. I should have picked the Orioles if I'm really looking back at it. But, just to be a hater, we'll say get the Yankees out of here. Guardians, Royals, give me the Guardians. I think the Guardians go to the World Series for the first time since they lost to the Cubs in 2016. History, it takes a while. Yeah. Like I said, the Royals haven't been there since 2015. The Guardians not since 2016. I think one of their teams gets a chance again this year. The Guardians make it in. In the NL, there's really nothing we even have to talk about. The Phillies, I hope they lose every game they ever play ever again. The Padres and Braves, whoever wins that, I hope loses in 4 to the Dodgers. And I think they will, truthfully. I don't know about the Phillies side, but I hope they do. The Dodgers, obviously I'm going to have faith in my team. I'm repping hard today. This is, like I mentioned earlier, this is the one chance or 1 year in like 3 or 4 years where I felt like we actually have a chance to win. We have the best player in baseball. The Yankees have the second. Ours actually, it's the first time in the playoffs. So he doesn't have that narrative of he's never had a big play because he hasn't had a chance yet. That's all going to change this year. He's the NL MVP. Francisco Lindor is going to be runner-up. So I think I'm going to take the Mets, Dodgers, NLCS, a little rematch of whatever that year was a long time ago. Mike Piazza, whatever. I wasn't even alive yet, I don't think. No. And then, give me Dodgers, Guardians, a rematch of the game we were at in California. And the Guardians did beat us that game. Obviously, I'm still going to pick the Dodgers, but I do think the Guardians are a very good ball club. In all serious note, though, they'll probably be the Dodgers, Yankees, and that would be the best for baseball, truthfully. Yeah. But give me the Dodgers in 11 straight. Let's not lose a game. Shohei, MVP, he's going to get his World Series. Kershaw will be indebted forever because he already is, but they don't count that last ring. Some people don't. Mookie will have his third. He'll be a Hall of Famer forever if he's not already. Freddie Freeman will have his second. Shohei will have his first. And 2024 Dodgers will go down in history. Mark it down. Write it down. Save it. Screenshot it.
Exactly why I didn't want to say that the Dodgers are going to win it, because now look at them.
I was going to say that anyway. I was going to say all that anyway.
Yeah, but now you said it with too much confidence.
No, I mean, I hope you guys know Saturday when I'm watching the first game, I'm going to be almost in verge of tears when we have like our first strike. So I'm going to be very panicked and very anxiety full, but you guys don't know that, at least not yet. So give me the Dodgers in 11 straight. All right, last couple things. Was there any other baseball news? I don't think there was there? I think we kind of covered it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tariq Skubal today. He's awesome. I don't know who. He's just one of my favorite pitchers to watch. He gets hyped, and he's a lefty. Women's NBA playoffs. Liberty are about to go up 2-0 on the Aces in 5 seconds. I just randomly saw that. So women's NBA. There you go. Yep. We talked about it. All right, last couple news that I think we have to address before we move on, because, again, just huge weekend in sports. With exciting news comes bad news in life. What did your parents used to say when you were growing up? It's always fucking something. And whether
before the dawn?
No, like just it's always fucking something.
Yeah.
Like
it's always something.
They get an oil change and then boom, flat tire. Like some shit like that. Your light goes out. All this stuff. It's always fucking something. Again, when good news comes, bad news comes, especially in sports. Mm-hmm. We had two legends of a sport, or legends of their respective sports, pass away this past weekend. One being a huge global icon and just an icon in the city of Denver, Colorado. Dikembe Mutombo, I think it was age 58, 52, 58. Passed away at the age 58 of brain cancer, which if you're not really a Nuggets fan or a huge basketball fan, you probably didn't know that was happening. Nuggets fans were made aware of this a while ago when he left his kind of role with the team. I think it was a couple years ago. And then also he was like hospitalized around All-Star break, either like 1 or 2 years ago. But just as he was a global icon. He brought NBA and basketball to Africa, Congo, all these places. Basketball Without Borders, I'm pretty sure he was a huge person for that, which is like one of the biggest organizations that spreads, the NBA and just resources in general for kids in different countries to, do athletic stuff, whether it's basketball, whatever. They supply resources, and he was one of the biggest ambassadors for that. And not to mention just that, I mean, he was a legend in the NBA when he played. Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know how many times. He has the Nuggets franchise record in blocks. He's going to have that record for ages. Based just looking off the leaderboard, I don't think anybody's going to catch him in the next 50 years. So, he was an amazing ambassador and just an amazing player. So I've heard an amazing person. I don't think I've had the chance to meet him. I did meet his son one time. His son was very nice, but couldn't imagine going through that, especially at the age of 58. So any thoughts on Dikembe Mutombo as a player, person, or?
Just great all around, to be honest with you. It's one of those things where it really shocks you because it's like, in my head, Dikembe Mutombo was a lot older than that. 58 is very young to pass away, so it was kind of very jarring. He's just insane player. Like he was just one of a kind, really, that came into the game, and you kind of hit on all the points of all the stuff he did off the court as well. And I mean, it's a hard loss for the NBA, and having lost somebody with that, big of just an impact that he had. So not much else I can say, but love your people because you never know when they're gonna go. 58. Not old at all in the grand scheme of life. Take advantage of every moment you got with people.
Yeah, like you said. I mean, won't use that pun. Great humanitarian, great Nuggets player. I mean, historically was when we beat the number 1 Celtics, right, in the series, was with him.
The what? Oh, the first number 8. First number 8 to 1 episode.
Yeah. Outside of all that, one of the greatest commercials of all time. No. Rest in peace to a legend.
Yeah, Hall of Famer, 8-time All-Star, 3-time block champ, 3-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Defensive NBA, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, Dikembe Mutombo. So, terrible loss for the NBA. It feels like we have one of these every year now. It feels like, especially
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell, Jerry West, Kemba Mutombo.
Who else? There's another one too. I'm not sure.
I mean, no, it's felt like there's been one like every year for like the last 4 years where it's like Hall of Fame guys that are passing away. So very sad news, especially here in Denver, Colorado, where Dikembe Mutombo was loved, 4th overall pick in the 1991 draft to the Denver Nuggets and Hall of Famer in 2015. So, guess just congratulations on a great life. Not really just a great career, but a great life where he did a lot more than a lot of humans can dream of doing. So couldn't be more special. Another death we had this past weekend, Pete Rose, controversial baseball player, but one of the greatest hitters ever in the sport of baseball. Also a Hall of Famer. Well, he should have been a Hall of Famer. There's everybody agrees with that. Even though he was never inducted, he is a Hall of Famer. Clearly. Pete Rose died at the age of 83, other known as the Hit King.
Charlie Hustle.
Yeah, he had the one. He got banned from baseball for gambling on his own team as a manager. But before he was a manager, he was an amazing baseball player, 17-time All-Star, an MVP, Rookie of the Year, 3 World Series, 2 Gold Gloves, 1 Silver Slugger, 1 World Series MVP, 3-time batting title, and Roberto Clemente Award. I don't really know what to say. There's 160 home runs. He batted .303 for his career, which is insane. Almost 200 stolen bases, almost 1,400 RBIs. I mean, it's just crazy stat line. His OPS plus was 118, which we just found out. 100 was the average. And if you're doing that over a 17-year career, that is amazing. So baseball lost a legend as well.
Yeah, I mean, you do kind of bounce back and forth between, a guy who was loved by his game and loved by the community of his game, and then you bounce over to Pete Rose, who was abolished from his game, from the MLB, and it stinks because I'm sure he felt this his whole life too, that he just kind of put a little bit of a stain on like how good he was, but when you take that all away and you look at how good he was and how influential he was to the game of baseball, it really is insane. Still the 3rd longest hitting streak ever, 44 games, which is ridiculous. It kind of sucks that the MLB did what they did as well, because I don't think a lot of people really know how good Pete Rose was and how dominating that guy was in the batter's box. So, from what I've heard, I'm an excellent person, honestly, from the things I've heard.
His teammates said that as well.
Yeah, so it sucks that the MLB put that stain on his playing legacy, but if you really love sports, you look at it for what it was, which is an insane career that, I don't know, couldn't get much better than that. Definitely a legend lost, so RIP.
Here's my thing. I saw a tweet about this, and it is a great point. Every single sports network today that brought up Pete Rose, what are they sponsored by? A sports book.
Gambling.
Insane. I get it. I get the whole gambling thing. While you're a player, don't do it. It's bad.
Yeah.
If you're this is where I disagree with that whole thing. If you're gambling on your team to win, then I think it should have absolutely no effect. If you're gambling on your team to lose, then you can throw a game. If you gamble on your team to win, how are you going to throw that?
Yeah,
you can't do nothing about that.
Yeah, I see that, and I think the only issue is that you have a lot of insider knowledge that not a lot of people have.
Fair.
But still, I feel like it shouldn't be an abolishment from the game.
No.
Because he wasn't, like, cheating.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a shoeless Joe Jackson situation at all. So I think at the end of the day, he should never have been abolished from the game of baseball like that.
Agreed.
And I think if he didn't, he would have been known by a lot more people who are generally into baseball. But yeah, no, I agree. It just kind of was messed up what they did to him, but still one of the greatest players to ever play.
I think the MLB would be wrong not to put him in the Hall of Fame at some point, especially with
I don't think they can anymore.
No?
I don't think they can.
That's crazy. I was going to say mainly just because of the state of gambling in which it is today.
Speaking of Great American Ballpark, home of the Cincinnati Reds, which he was known for his playing career and his managing career, where he then got abolished, like you said, from the MLB and from all records and everything. In their ballpark, they have a kitchen and bar that is called the BetMGM Sportsbook Nation and Kitchen Bar at the Banks, which is at their stadium. They have their own sportsbook in their stadium, which obviously we know how far sports betting has come to this point, and obviously what he did was not the most right thing. Like, obviously, if Shohei got caught, if Shohei got caught guilty this year, there would be a lot of the same talks and whatever. But obviously that got thrown under the rug, partially, allegedly, whatever. We all know where sports betting is come now. I mean, we're looking on a screen right now watching baseball, and there's an ESPN bet
with a QR code
where we can sign up and gamble right now. You know what I mean? Like
this
exact second. Like,
the
I'm
odds are right there.
They're right there.
Live money line.
Atlanta is plus 700 to win this game.
One thing I will say before we end on this is, it is weird that how far sports betting has came. Like, I get it. It's still one of the most entertaining things for fans ourselves, but it's really weird when you see it on places like ESPN and
I agree.
like Fox Sports or TNT, whatever, because they're supposed to be like the one providers that are neutral, and they're not supposed to be, I guess, promoting this stuff. But where we are today and all the media rights and all that, I guess it just makes sense. And a couple of my friends have jobs in sports books, so I can't really talk. I don't want them to be unemployed. Maybe. But I don't know. Really weird just to see where we've come from. And for a guy like Pete Rose, maybe his legacy, a little different, sports 100%. Books and what he was doing, a little different. But just where we've come, you think maybe we can get over some of that stuff. And if Von Miller's doing steroids, get Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. Totally unrelated, but
I agree.
Same thing. So, I mean, yeah, just very interesting. Huge week of sports. Again, with good news comes bad news. But the good news is, going forward, we have MLB postseason, we have college football, we have the NFL. NBA starts in 2-3 weeks. NHL starts in 2 weeks. It's the best time of year. Again, almost the holiday season. It's time to enjoy it with your folks, your friends. Enjoy the weather.
Yeah.
And enjoy all the pumpkins and scary shits, the horror movies, all the fun stuff. So if you're a mom listening to this, go get yourself a pumpkin spice latte. If you're a kid listening to this or our age, go get your mom a pumpkin spice latte. You know what I mean?
On your own dime.
Go get your crush a pumpkin. Take her to a haunted house. Take her to watch a scary movie. I don't know. Enjoy the festivities because it's only once a year. So we won't be back for a whole nother year. So you better enjoy it now. Cool. Any last thoughts, people?
Sell the team, go Broncos. You know what team I'm talking about.
Okay, the Rockies.
Go Georgia, go Falcons.
Alrighty. Well, go tell somebody you love them. You might just make their day. Peace.
Peace.